Good evening, welcome back to the second game of the night, the second and last game of the night for the excellent Moscow Cup. We're going to see Empire taking on Aware Gaming. Now, the top four of the group stages for the excellent Moscow Cup make it out to Moscow, to the LAN finals. And at this point, Empire is part of that. They have two more games to play though, and they're now sitting on 3 losses and 5 wins. They can lose one of their remaining games. And next to facing Aware, they will be facing Power Rangers tomorrow. Power Rangers are a team that is known for upsetting the fellow CIS team. So definitely this is a game that they have got quite a bit of pressure for, that they kind of should win. Aware, on the other hand, they so far have played 9 games and they've only won 2 of them. They've had some great showings and the games were all fantastic, but they've not been able to take it home more than twice. So that's a bit of a problem for them. This is their last game in this tournament. So a chance for them to redeem themselves against one of the favorites for the entire tournament. So who knows, maybe they can get something out of here. Of course, once again, I'm not by myself. I'm joined by G Advance. G Advance, welcome back to the broadcast.
Yeah, good to be here. And as you say, I think this is more than anything an important game for Empire. Obviously, Aware, you always want to try and take games, especially off the bigger teams like Empire. But right now, Empire's chances of getting in are looking a bit shaky, because if they lose this game, which I'm not saying will happen, but it's a possibility always, and then they go up versus PR tomorrow, PR are a very strong team, and as you said, they're also a team that is known for taking upsets, and they've looked pretty strong in this tournament, so Team Empire, this is a pretty serious game for them. They want to go to those LAN finals, they want to make sure they get themselves some prize money, and Aware, they haven't got much in this, but already a pretty bold strategy here. We see the return of Dazzle, because apparently nobody's been picking him since the very minor nerf, actually, to his Poison Touch, meaning that he can't stop people from TPing out anymore, but still, overall the same hero. They pick him up with an Axe, which is a very good aggressive combo in the early game. I do like this, because I feel like we've seen a lot of Axe picks in the past few days that have just not worked out because they've struggled too much in the lane.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They've been running Axes on off lanes that we've seen, the previous game, if that's anything to go on. But personally, I just prefer in a more aggressive scenario to help him get more during the laning stage, because we all know that if an Axe gets behind, it's very difficult for him to come back, at least on his own. He needs his help from his team for that one. And it's just easier if you can get him a good start, and if you can make sure that you already start fighting early on and start killing people early on. I do think that that's going to be a bit more difficult now that there's a Treant Protector on the field for Empire. Nice pickup for them. Very counter-pickish against that Axe pickup.
Yeah, definitely Treant Protector, always a nice combo to have. It's pretty good with the Mirana. They don't have a huge amount of setup for the arrow so far, but overall, a pretty conservative draft from Team Empire. I think picking up a Mirana is a very safe bet in this day and age, because there's so many things that she can combo with. And the thing with Mirana is, even if you can't combo with something, the hero overall just does a fair amount of damage and is pretty useful to have. Obviously, her right clicks don't scale that well, but she's a pretty good spell carry. It's a safe hero to pick. You can go with her anywhere. You can go aggressive tri-lane, you can go with setups and be very aggressive as far as ganking, or you could just farm on her, and it's a little bit but it's still pretty strong.
Yeah, it can work out. They actually take the Shadow Demon out themselves, and now I know that the first pick goes to Aware, and yes, Dazzle Shadow Demon is still a very nice combination to have, but it's surprising to see that, because as you already pointed out, there's no setup for Mirana, and they're gonna have to look further for another one. I'm not saying that she needs one, but it is definitely handy to have. There's still a Vengeful Spirit in the pool, which I wouldn't mind seeing there. Empire has been known to shift it up a bit between Resolution and Silent in terms of who is playing the Mirana and who is going to be the safe laner, who's going to be the aggressive one. So nothing is set in stone for Empire just yet, so in a way, maybe you want to have Resolution play that Mirana in mid, in which case you don't really have to worry all too much about having a setup, because it's more important in the laning stage than anything else. You're going to be able to have different opportunities later on, overall. I do like Aware's lineup though. I mean, they know that they're in for a tough match, and they're going all out. We've got the Axe aggressive potential coming out from him. We've got a Tiny Io, more aggression. Both are already kind of counted to the Treant Protector and to the Surge, and also from the Darkseer. There's a lot of escape mechanisms on the side of Empire, but I do like what they're doing for sure.
Yeah, and this is very similar to actually what they picked up yesterday. I think I can't remember what they had instead of Dazzle. Maybe it was like an Ancient Apparition or something like that. But yeah, they pick up the IO Tiny in combination with the Axe. This basically means if you jump on somebody with the Axe, that long duration disable from the Berserker's Call, up to 3.2 seconds, that's more than enough time to relocate your Tiny in there and get a pretty easy mid-game gank. And this lineup is very, very strong throughout all stages of the game if they run dual lanes here. If the IO Tiny goes into the middle lane, Dazzle Axe, well, they can go anywhere. Probably on the off lane, though, just to put pressure on Empire. All those lanes are pretty solid. IO Tiny can suffer a little bit because they're low armor, and it's a little bit dangerous to use. But the real problem for this team is they do need a fair amount of levels, and if Axe doesn't get up his fast Blink Dagger, they will struggle. Particularly IO Tiny need a lot of levels.
Yeah, and then Witch Doctor pick up for Empire. They're having a bit of a one-more combo moment at this point. Imagine Vacuum into an Overgrowth into the Death Ward coming out from Witch Doctor. And of course, if people are relocating in on you, it is always nice to have them, give them a warm welcome with that Death Ward from the Witch Doctor. And IO Tiny, anything with IO actually, is pretty susceptible to the paralyzing cast, because you normally want to stay close to your tether target, and that might be allowing that cast to bounce around. Now, there is a range at that tether where the cast does not bounce, but you have to really be, like, this synergy for Aware is going to be so important. Yeah, literally stretching that tether thin, because you have to be so on point, and you have to be having the communication, like, top-notch level right there. Puck picked up for Aware now as well. Bit of control hero. Control coming out for them, most likely going to be in their mid lane. Also a hero that needs a Blink Dagger before he can really start doing some work, though. It's if they make it out of the laning phase, they're gonna have a good chance of making it out of this game successfully. However, the laning stage is gonna have a lot of pressure for Aware.
Definitely, and I do like this direct for Aware, because the thing is that you say that Puck's going into the middle lane. I'm pretty convinced that they'll run this as safe lane Puck, go Axe Dazzle on the off lane, and then put Tiny Wisp, because to me that makes the most sense. It's one of the safest places that Tiny can go with the IO, and it means that the Puck as well has got a guaranteed chance of getting a Blink Dagger because he's on the safe lane. The same with the Axe, because he's going to be backed up by the Dazzle. So, I mean, they've got a lot of different laning combinations here. Team Empire, though, this could be dangerous. This makes it even more open to going IO Tiny on the mid lane, because Puck is obviously not a good matchup going versus Outworld Devourer. Any int mid hero loses to OD. Very few heroes at all beat OD, other than Razor and, you know, some people would argue Lone Druid and Kunkka, but even those do struggle greatly. So Team Empire, they pick up a lane winner for them, which I think makes a lot of sense, because like you say, they need Blink Daggers, they need their laning stage to go well. I think the Witch Doctor pick, more than anything though, is probably their strongest pick in this, because not only is it great versus Tether because the two heroes have to generally stay pretty close together, but it's also one of the best counter initiation spells, and Aware's side is all about initiating, holding everybody in place, and then allowing the Tiny to do the damage. Now they have ways of making sure that that Tiny can't do damage because they have that cask. They also have the defensive Astral Imprisonment. I think this is a smart lineup for the side of Aware, but Empire may have just picked up a few good counter picks to try and keep them off them.
Yeah, I like Empire's draft apart from the OD. I'm just overall, doesn't matter who plays it, doesn't matter the team. He is a hero that, I don't know, maybe I'm not getting him fully. I know he can make a lot happen for sure, but he's just very passive, and overall he's normally turning into more of a utility hero rather than anything else, apart from, of course, if he gets mega fat with his ultimate, his Eclipse, to really nuke down a lot of targets. But it's a bit risky in my opinion. Empire, they have got quite some stuff riding on this match. They need to get this win in just to be on the safe side tomorrow against Power Rangers. They're actually rotating into enemy jungle. Looks like we're gonna have an aggressive tri-lane on our hands for the moment. Let's take a look at who's playing what and who is there for also going where. As for Empire, they'll be playing from the Dire side, although right now they're sitting right next to an Observer Ward of Aware in the Radiant jungle. It is kind of, yeah, obvious. So Vanscore will be supporting on the Treant Protector, picks up boots first so he can get those extra punches in, always on a fly. Playing the Witch Doctor this game with Silent, the one on the Mirana, of course. He'll be the one on the bottom lane taking all the farm, or at least intending to take all the farm. We're going to have in the mid lane Resolution, mid-hero for Empire, mid-player for Empire rather, and he's playing the Outworld Devourer, or the OD, and the top lane is, it's got an Invis rune for Mag, but he is on the safe lane solo for the moment, playing the Darkseer, while Vanscore and Always Wanna Fly are still so obvious sitting there. Let's take a look. Do they still have the vision? Actually, they only see Always Wanna Fly.
Yeah, but as soon as they move off now, see, they immediately back off because they know what's happening, and it's pretty obvious. They don't even have great heroes for gaining kills level 1. Witch Doctor is particularly a bad ganking hero because Paralyzing Cask is just so random in how you use it, especially if you go on somebody who's in the middle of a creep wave. You could hit 1 second stun on the hero that you hit, and then just hit creeps, especially with it only being level 1, only having a couple of bounces, so... Yeah, they'll just have to go to the bottom lane, and it seems like the only lane where they're likely to win here is on this lane versus Lolik, and, I mean, whilst the Puck does need a Blink Dagger, either the Axe or the Puck can get one and still initiate for the team. It's not like he's the only initiator on his team that can actually get the Tiny to do the damage. The big thing for me is whether Resolution, how well Resolution does versus Seema and Roger here, because if he, doesn't die, if he plays this very safe and he gets a pretty good laning staging, gets a lot of XP, maybe screws with their last hits a bit, then maybe this Tiny won't be strong enough once one of these initiators has got a blink for the side of Aware to actually make their mid-game work. Because the thing is their mid-game, even their late-game, is extremely terrifying. I mean, late-game Tiny, terrifying. Mid-game Tiny Wisp, absolutely terrifying. So they'll struggle a little bit, and I mean, the top lane, that's pretty much a wash for them. Darkseer, he can cope underneath the tower, but Hakon, he can creep skip very easily, particularly with the help of the Dazzle, and this Darkseer is going to be under just that little bit more pressure, because he has to rely on his own regen. He can't just have the Dazzle regenning him as well.
Take 2, Vanscore and Always Wanna Fly, now this time smoked up. Going for the middle lane. Let's see if they can make something happen now. They've got level 1 Leech Sheet coming up from Vanscore and a Paralyzing Cask from the Witch Doctor. They just need to get...
But they know they're not bot lane. Lolik knows they're not bot lane because they have a nicely placed ward on the bottom as well, so they must assume he's in the mid, and with Roger having a rune as well, these two will keep up for good HP. Again, OD, not great in the laning stage as far as damage. Treant's only level 1. It looks like they're baiting with the... Oh no, they're trying to find them with just one of the IO illusions there, but they're not finding him.
Vanscore, they know where he is.
Oh dear.
Just walks into vision of that ward. This ward
is a
doing
big problem for Empire.
So much work.
Yeah, these are really nicely placed wards for Empire, because it seems like they guessed their lanes pretty well. I've got to say, by the way, I knew the lanes for Aware. I knew it as soon as I saw the draft, but they guessed what Empire, how they were going to lane, how they were going to try and gank this mid continuously. They put a ward on the bot and a ward on the high ground that basically makes it impossible to gank. Because if you disappear from the bottom lane, you're almost always going to walk through this area. I mean, that's your line, right? That's your line for ganking the middle lane. Unless you want to smoke out and go all the way around, it's going to be extremely hard to gank this Tiny Wisp combo. And for the moment, they're doing pretty well in the lane, though Resolution is not being particularly shut down, I would say.
True. And one thing that I'm kind of worried about right now is that Mag is out of regen. Courier is flying in, is hasted. Let's see, it has a soul ring. Well, that's going to be a saving grace right there, then and there. So he should be okay again. Just to go over Aware still, Hakon will be playing the Axe. He's supported by a Dazzle, played by Stress. Mid lane is for Seema, playing the Tiny, supported by Roger on the IO. And then last but not least, Lolik on the Puck on the bottom lane up against Silent. Silent, by the way, is doing really well for himself as well. He is outlast hitting, I should say, Lolik by far. I mean, they're not losing any lane per se. They're losing the battle of supports though, because these dual lanes for Aware are giving those supports nice levels. While we already saw Always Wanna Fly as well as Treant Protector just roaming around and not getting anything out of it, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they're definitely not getting anything out of it. That said, Empire's solos are doing pretty well, whereas Lolik, he's not exactly enjoying his time. Only 9 for 3 for the moment, because Silent got, such a good early laning stage, but Yeah, if you go aggressive tri-lane and your supports don't get anything done, if they don't get any ganks off, you suffer very badly. I mean, technically the same thing could be said about dual lanes, but it's much less of an issue. And as well as that, Aware, they're now getting themselves a nice big stack here in the jungle. Roger keeps on going back and doing that, and Roger's doing a pretty good job here of making sure that Seema always has mana. The problem is that he has such low intelligence that the bottle doesn't really help him, because every time Resolution uses the Astral Imprisonment on him, Tiny feels real stupid.
Wow, Vanscour came in, went for an went for his lead sheet on the Dazzle, but in comes Berserker's Call, and Axe just stops everything right in his tracks.
Yeah,
there was
crazy
the first
hard to gank
rotation where
these
they
two.
actually weren't scouted out, though. It just felt a bit too pushed, too forced, too much pressure onto making some rotation work for them. But maybe because of that, not making it true, they're gonna try to maybe now get some extra levels, or at least I hope they will. Just go into the jungle, farm, pull, stack, do your thing as supports do, and hope to get some levels, because if they keep being too low, I mean, Living Armor, it's okay to have this at level 1, but you need to get that level 4 at some point. And you need to just get your levels up, because if you're going to be too squishy, one Avalanche Toss combination is going to be the end of you, especially if you're a Witch Doctor.
Yeah, Witch Doctor in particular suffers from pretty squishiness. Treant not so much, but even so, even if he has Living Armor on himself, it's not going to do very much versus it, as Tiny's Avalanche, of course, is multiple instances of damage, and if he uses Toss in the correct way, it's an absolute ton of instances of damage, because you get the Avalanche procced on them twice, essentially. So, yeah, that Living Armor, he's going to need it a fair amount here, but these supports just aren't getting anything here. Mag's actually been forced back to base as well, and the lanes for Aware have just been pretty well executed for the moment. I think they'd prefer to try and get themselves a kill on the OD, but the real issue is it's incredibly hard to do that when Tiny, every single time OD uses Astral Imprisonment on him, they can't kill anymore, because Tiny doesn't actually have enough of a mana pool to use both his spells, even if he's full mana. Which is, I mean, Tiny's not a smart rock. He's a little boulder.
Just
Poor guy.
A rock. Just a rock. I do think Mag is gonna get his his mechanism up at a very decent time. He's actually sitting the highest on last hits in the Eyes, closely followed by the one that he was laning against, though. Both of those are, of course, are heroes that can just stand in the midst of an enemy creep wave and take them all down without an exception. So they're really taking abuse of that, and that will definitely help them later on. However, the bigger impact hero, wait a second, rotation, let's see if they can make something happen now. Astral Imprisonment coming out on Seema. Teleports, plenty, a rainbow of teleports coming in. Hakon looking for Berserker's Call, already finds himself Battle Hunger up in Resolution. Doesn't get in range for a Berserker's Call, though. No kill happening here in this middle lane, but oh my god,
I think they
were
want
ready.
Tiny to live.
They were ready. However,
they
next
were more
time,
than ready for that.
all the teleports on cooldown. I mean, I would find this a win for Empire. They didn't lose anything, and they got a lot of teleports. 3.
That's definitely true, but the real issue is that this Tiny Wisp combo, it's getting close-ish to level 6. Wisp is struggling a little bit on levels, but they're going to have the Blink Dagger probably on the Axe after he finishes this camp here. Io can get himself a few extra levels from this as well, and that's going to mean a big thing for them, because that means the Axe can initiate in any lane that he wants to. Oh no, he's not going to quite have the money for the Blink yet, but it'll be coming up at around the 10-minute mark, which normally we see Axe struggles to get his Blink Dagger before even 15 minutes. He's not a fast farmer generally, and he struggles in the laning stage, but this game he's had a perfect laning stage. The only one who's really suffering is still just that Puck, who's not doing very much on the bottom lane. Silent, after getting that little bit of help, after having all these items, he just has so much more base damage than him. Like, 40 base damage more just means that Lolik basically can't last it at all.
Yep. Lolik is shut down, as you mentioned earlier, though. If they only need one hero to initiate, they got Hakon for that one. Well, assuming he'll get his Blink Dagger, which we're gonna for now assume that he will. Although Silent could try to make something happen. He is realizing that there's something happening in the jungle as the wave gets pulled back, but he doesn't have the power right now to take down Axe, unless he really stands close to Axe, which is not something that you really want to do voluntarily. Vanscour always want to fly. Take 5. Take 5, I want to say. Vanscour, level 4.
Jesus,
sorry, rather
so
level
low
3
level.
with always want to fly level 4. They've got level 2 paralyzing cask and level 2 on the Living armor as
and
well.
Puck has a haste rune as well, so this isn't even a possible gank. I guess they're having to go for the axe, but he's just picked up his blink dagger now. Even if he just dies right now, he could run into them, die, and it would mean nothing for him.
True. It is in the career,
It would mean a little bit for Empire, but...
There's actually smokes picked up on both Axe and Io. They want to make that blink dagger for Axe a surprise, and they want to make it work for them in terms of getting a first blood, which, by the way... We're 10 minutes into this game, and there has not been a first blood yet, which is not something that we see a lot of.
Yeah, it just seems like that's down to the way Aware have actually countered these lanes, I think, more than anything. Because it seems like Empire, with Vanscore and Always Wanna Fly, they very obviously wanted to try and get kills in this laning stage, but they just haven't been able to, and Aware have played things very conservatively. Looks like we might have our first blood coming soon, but Vanscore's just... sitting around in an invis rune for the moment. There's no detection on these guys either. Just a smoke, and the smoke on the axe is popped, so that'll be a gank attempt there, gone. Maybe they'll go for Mag instead, but he's not an easy kill with a mech now.
Ooh, arrow
they need to try and get the right
Roger.
rotation.
Moonlight Shadow for Mirana coming out as well, but Roger will be fine, and the Moonlight Shadow is just to back off. They're too afraid maybe
And that's Trion's mana gone. So he won't be able to rotate much for a little bit here, and he's still just level 3. We're 11 minutes in.
Wow. We knew that he was going to go top, but that's a first blood that I missed. It's a combination that we've seen before. Battle Hunger, Berserker's Call, no hope for Mag. He did have his mechanism, but if you're in the Berserker's Call and you die during that one, you don't have time to press anything at all. So the mechanism was unused, unfortunately, for Mag. First blood on the board, and the Blink Dagger of Hakon working out. This could be the start of a very scary axe.
Yeah, and like you said, that Berserker's Call actually stopped him from using his mech. I thought he would maybe be able to get it off a bit faster, so I wasn't too concerned about looking there, because I thought he'd survive, but...
Me too.
Yeah, not able to get off that mech, so...
Well, Silent.
He just dies there.
I don't think Silent is going to make it out of this alive. He will get chopped as well. Keep in mind, living armor, once you're below that threshold of the Culling Blade, living armor doesn't do anything at all. And you'll just die anyway, regardless of how much heals you might be getting into at some point, so... Yeah, Hakon with the first 2 kills of the game, and now we also know how that kill on top lane went. And yeah, good going for Aware. It's time for Empire to get their supports in order and to basically get their lineup ready, because yes, Darkseer is ready. He's level 11, he's got his wall up, he got his mechanism, and he's ready for team fighting, but who is he gonna team fight with? Yeah, Always Wanna Fly looks to be able to make it out alive, as well as Vanscore. Nice Nature's guys coming out for Always Wanna Fly, helping him out there. Relocate, that was the first one happening, but they didn't get anything off the back of it. I think that's lucky for Empire rather than anything else.
Yeah, and maybe a bit of a misplay from Aware as well, because the whole point of their lineup, once they have the Tiny Wisp combo fully online, once they actually have their relocate, the entire point of that lineup is that you initiate with somebody else and then relocate on top of them, because otherwise it's very easy for Empire to just get themselves out of there. But in that case, they went after somebody that was in the lane with the Dazzle, and Dazzle, actually, if you look at his skill build, he's gone straight Shallow Grave and Shadow Wave, doesn't have anything else, no ultimate, no poison touch, just wants to be there as a hero to keep your side alive, but this could be very bad for the OD.
Yeah, Resolution already picked up, can't really do anything. In comes the Moonlight Shadow, but it doesn't matter, the dust has already popped. Mechanism from Mag coming in though, maybe he can turn this around. Vacuum Wall up on 5 heroes, but is it enough damage? I don't think it is. We're gonna have the Witch Doctor dying anyway. We're following Mag as he is trying to chase down Io. Gets a kill there. Silent might be able to send an arrow maybe up on Stress if they can find him. Doesn't look like they will though. Turns into a 1-on-2 exchange as Witch Doctor is already back alive because he is so low level. But Mag, that Vacuum Wall, woo!
That was the perfect vacuum wall that you could get there.
Brilliant. Shame on him that he's got, shame on him, not shame on him, but sad for him that he's only got level 1 Wall of Replica and 1 extra level in Surge. This is basically personal preference. Sometimes we see players put that level in Wall of Replica in at level 10 and therefore getting their second level, level 11, and sometimes they get 2 in Surge.
And again, this same rotation for them. Anybody that initiates on their team, they just send people to follow up. Lolik has his blink now as well, if he wants to buy it.
What did Vanscore think he was gonna do?
I think he just made a mistake there.
Well,
and suddenly, Empire's lineup is getting crushed in the mid game by Aware. And this is the strength of Aware's lineup. One person initiates, and I mean, they didn't even need their Tiny for that. But Tiny is a huge mass damage output hero. once he gets an Aghanim Scepter online, which he admittedly is a while off, he's not had great farm in the middle lane, just because OD is very annoying to deal with for him. He basically just makes it so they can never use any spells, because Tiny has such terrible mana issues, but they're just executing this great right now, and the problem is that we saw in that last fight, Mag got a perfect back wall.
Nice kill, relocate coming in as well. It's actually going to be a kill on the Treant. Oh, the grave!
What a play.
Empire so close to killing off that Tiny, but couldn't fulfill it, and then in comes the Dazzle.
And they needed that kill so badly as well. They lost 2 heroes for that, including their only majorly farmed hero, which is the Mirana. Obviously, she's not the only majorly farmed with, but she's the only one who can do much damage right now. Resolution's gone for a Midas, so he's waiting for a little bit until he does too much. And Mag, of course, is a teamfight hero, and I was just about to say, he got a perfect vac wall, right? And they killed a Wisp. One of the squishiest heroes in the game. One of the easiest heroes to kill, generally. They didn't kill anybody else, so Empire is struggling really badly right now. They need more than just a perfect vac wall. They need a perfect vac wall and the rest of Empire to follow up in exactly the right way, because Aware is steamrolling right now. Luckily, the 2 most farmed heroes on the map is still Resolution and Mag, so that's in their favor, but this Tiny will start to catch up, because every time somebody gets initiated on, this Tiny is going to be on top of them with the Wisp, and they're going to get themselves another kill. And in the meantime, Tiny can just split push and farm with the Wisp wherever he wants to, because he'll have more than enough mana now that Roger's just backing him up with a Soul Ring and Tether, and a bottle as well.
Yeah, in this game there basically will be a free, or like a sweet spot for Empire. They have got a lineup that is very good in the mid to late game, but in the late game, Aware will take them over because that Tiny is just so incredibly fat. There is also the fact of that Tiny at some point will get a BKB, because you need a BKB against OD and against the lineup that Empire has. Most of it is magical at this point. And they need to be able to either do really well before he gets his BKB, or wait until his BKB is done, and then, like, is done as in having it down to 5 and 4 seconds, and then start doing really well. But until then, for them, I feel like it's all about damage control and getting Resolution more farmed up. Get that intellect difference higher. Make sure that they get the Mirana to be really a carry rather than a semi-carry at this point, which is what she looks like item-wise. Moonlight Shadow being used for the bottom lane. Relocate coming in as well. The wall is already there. Mechanism comes out for both teams. It's already Witch Doctor that gets chopped first, though. Arrow flying in from the south. Silent coming in with the Starstorm. The Grave, though, keeping Tiny up for the moment. It will be Tiny going down, with Io relocating back out to get it with the axe. As we see the Treant Protector falling, Lolek stuck in the trees. Triple kill for Lolek as well, as he blinks himself out towards the tier 1 again, which was still standing. But that turns into a 3-on-1 in favor of Aware. I kind of feel like that was a mistake of Io. He could have taken back the Tiny with him instead of the axe, but
I think that was a minor misclick. Those two are right next to each other, and ultimately your Tiny is more important to save, and I don't think the axe was in that much danger of dying compared to the Tiny, who basically had 0 HP and was just living off the shallow grave there. But even so, Tiny gets closer to his Aghanims, and all but one person on the side of Empire dies there, and they're suffering. They're suffering greatly at this stage of the game. Like you said, they need to get some more items up, but the problem is are Aware going to let them? Because the nice thing about their lineup is that Aware, they only have to pressure with the axe or the puck, or the puck and the dazzle, or the axe and the dazzle. The Io Tiny doesn't have to be anywhere near the side of Empire on the map to help them whatsoever, and these are very strong initiators as well. The axe jumped in there, the puck jumped in there as well. You've seen the power that the Dream Coil's been able to get, and now that Lolek's come back, he's got himself he's going to be starting on a Hex soon if he wants to. As well as that, Hakon, he's going towards his Aghanim Scepter, so he's no longer going to be that squishy hero. He's had that good start that an axe definitely needs. In the meantime, though, pressure being made on top. Looks like Vanscore might want to try and go on them here, but do they have enough backup and damage? And it looks like actually Aware is sandwiching them a little bit here.
Yeah, Arrow will miss. Reveal the position of Silence as he goes. And of course on the top lane, yeah, it's nice to try make a go on Seema and Roger, but Roger can just sacrifice himself, teleport Seema out, and come back by himself.
Yeah, or they can just leave like this, and now
Aware, just walk back,
they're more efficiently farming around the map. They're more concerned about getting their Aghanims on Tiny and getting a few items after that. Empire can't afford to let that happen, because a Tiny in the late game is going to massively outcarry anything the side of Empire have without perfect execution. And once he's got a BKB, the OD will be able to do very little against him as well. So I'm just very worried for Empire right now. I feel like they just have to group up and take things. And like we said, this is an important match for Empire in particular, because tomorrow they're going up against Power Rangers, and they really can't afford to lose both these games. And so far, it looks like Aware, I mean, they're winning this game pretty handily as far as kills is concerned. And whilst gold is only a little bit in their favor, same for XP, kills does make a big difference, because eventually if you don't get any kills, you can't win a game with no kills, pretty much. I mean, technically doable, but it's not going to happen.
You also cannot get a game without any towers down on your enemy team, because Empire, not the greatest pushing lineup. I mean, that's guaranteed, but they are not
what a ward.
Taking anyone down. What ward?
They got spotted out by the ward as the smoke actually ran out. And now Aware are TPing everybody to the bottom lane to help out Empire, to help out Seema and Roger. This could be a terrible position for the side of Empire here, because they don't even have their OD. That said, the Dazzle, the Puck is TPing. The Dazzle, he's probably going to go get a TP from the side shot, but this could be a terrible situation for the side of Empire here, because they could be walking into what they think is a great gank on Seema, and is actually going to be a serious trap for them.
Yeah, the pause coming out from Empire in the end. So it wasn't even their tactical pause. Surge coming in. Seema find himself in the middle of some enemy heroes. Goes for toss. Mag is going to be the first target. In comes a Haikon from the side. And that's going to be Mag. Already down before anything else happens. Always want to fly. And Vanscore try to walk out with the overgrowth helping out. They go invisible, but the dust comes out. Moonlight Shadow not saving them. They also drop. Mirana as well as OD managed to get themselves out of there. They decided not to even try and be close by what was looking to be a massacre of their entire team, but great reactions of course from Aware, and these wards have been doing a lot of work for Aware. The ward of course that we saw at the start of the game made a ton of difference to make sure that Seema was not going to get ganked, and that ward just now as well. It's small things, but it has such a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't want to say it because it's a terrible pun, but the map awareness and the way they've been moving around the map, Aware have played the IO Tiny combo, which is something a lot of teams can't execute. They played it pretty much perfectly. I mean, maybe their farm is a little bit low on the Tiny, but that's because they had to go up against an OD in lane. There's always problems going up against an OD in lane. He's just annoying more than anything, but they are executing and they're moving around the map absolutely perfectly, TPing everybody in to counter-initiate there when they saw that Empire's smoke had ran out and they were in their own jungle. Great reactions from them. I mean, it came up before the pause. It's not like they saw it during the pause and were like, oh, we need to TP. They saw it beforehand. It just happened to be a pause right then. And Aware are just controlling the tempo of this game right now. Empire are like, it's like Empire are just stuck sitting back, and Resolution is actually being forced to go for a BKB here because of all the disables that Aware bring out. This means that he's not going to be that far ahead as far as his intelligence. His Sanity's Eclipse is not going to do as much damage. His orbs aren't going to do as much damage. This could be very bad for them because they're very reliant on their team fight wombo combo at this point, because there's no way they can I mean, the laning stage is way done. Obviously, they're, pretty far behind now, and Tiny has now picked up his Aghanim Scepter, so going towards the late game, he's going to outfarm them as well, and he's already looking to go for his straight BKB as his next item. Look how hard he's hitting right now with a DD on him as well. That's terrifying.
Yeah, and they're just going to try to pressure some on the towers while nobody of Empire is showing
Tiny's going
themselves.
to kill a tier 2 in the meantime.
Yeah. Look
at the damage on this. His DD ran out then, but the first hit did like an insane amount there. Maybe they'll get this bottom tower, but it's kind of just it's a consolation prize more than anything. And the top tower is being pressured as well by Aware, so
but they know they cannot
they're just
fight.
Controlling this map.
If they fight middle, then IO will just teleport Tiny out and buy time for the rest of the team to come out. If they fight top, then IO and Tiny will come in to try and fight there. They don't have another option. It's starting to look pretty grim for Empire. They need to find a solution to dealing with this lineup of Aware.
I think it's got to be a 5-man smoke or something.
Yeah,
they need to get a big team fight.
Yeah, they do. That's what I was gonna say. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. It's just like their options are so limited because they're forced to farm because they've got a hero like an OD who went for a Midas, and they have this Mirana as well who's, doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but they can't farm versus a Tiny. You cannot farm versus a Tiny. We've seen games where Naga Siren, it's been a mistake for him to farm versus the Tiny, so it's incredibly difficult for them to farm with an OD against him, especially that he's rushing up a BKB now, and he's going to have it in like 30 seconds basically. So the situation for Empire is pretty grim. They've got to try and keep these lanes pushed out as well, because then Tiny will just eat their base up. They've got no tier 2s left, and they've taken a couple of outer tier 1s. This is very, very difficult for Empire. They're just not taking any map control. They need to get this smoke and group up soon. Maybe they're waiting on a couple of particular items on some heroes, but otherwise I don't see why they're waiting. And Always Wanna Fly, it looks to be in a bad position here.
Yeah, Moonlight Shadow coming out for him, but the dust is already there from Stress. Always Wanna Fly will get picked up. Dream Coil is used for that, so perhaps that is small consolation for Empire, but they had to use the Moonlight Shadow for that, so that's going to be an extra punch in the face for them. They do now have the Maelstrom ready on Silent. He is just continuing to try and farm and hope that they still have a sweet spot in this game where they are the ones to be ahead in terms of team fight. Maybe get some nice pickups with great arrows. The vision is there. They've got four great observer wards up. That's really important to keep that up. Make sure they have that vision, but then at the same time, Aware also got 4 observers up, so they've got that vision even more so. And they have a lineup that they can really take action off of that vision. As soon as they see someone out of position, there is a Puck and an Axe that can jump in with the Blink and trying to take that one down by himself, or relocate with an Io and a Tiny to be there as well to just try and take those down. It is not an easy time for Empire to try and find a place to farm where they are actually safe from Aware.
Yeah. The big thing as well is that, I mean, we're saying like it's all doom and gloom for Empire. Obviously, things are very bad for them right now, but it's not completely impossible. In fact, Io is in a bad situation, but great hero for escaping.
Ooh,
this
nice
might be one of the chances now.
Sanity's Eclipse getting
He
dropped
does
as
have
well,
10
but the
second
Grave
BKB
was already
though.
there. In comes the BKB. That's your 10-second BKB. Resolution already hexed up and already chopped to pieces as well. Dream Coil up on 2. Mag and Silent stuck as an Overgrowth will lock in 3 people. Always Wanna Fly getting the chance to get his Death Ward up, but with that Grave already up and running again, that's going to be another kill goal in the way of Empire. 4 for 3. Axe still gets tossed into his death. It is Silent that is the last one alive. 4 Empires trying to run. He has got to leap up in a second again. Will be able to use it and looks to be making that alive. Or relocate coming in. Silent
Oh, they can throw the
changing
wisp.
positions, and a throw is there, and Silent drops. It's a team wipe, and Aware, well, that's going to be their victory. They get a GG out of Empire. Brilliantly done. And I just want to say, told you so.
Yeah, Aware, they just put their lanes in the right places. They drafted that very well versus Empire, and the big problem is that they tried to do a lot with Empire with their supports early on, and they did nothing. Their supports did nothing throughout the majority of that game. The best they got there was Always Wanna Fly got a nice Death Ward off, but it was a level 1 Death Ward. There's a level 8 Witch Doctor with 26 minutes into the game. He's incredibly underleveled. The same goes for the Treant, and that was probably their perfect team fight there, because they even got the Treant ulti up after the BKB, and then used the Witch Doctor ulti on him as well, and it still couldn't kill him. He was still just too big, too fat, and too strong, and he just turns around, beats everybody up. Very nicely played from Aware, and this is what we mean when we say Aware can really play nice games. Empire, they just beat, and this is a team that's been struggling in this tournament, but Aware can really pull it off when they need to.
It's really a team to watch out for in the qualifiers, as they are, of course, in the European qualifiers for the International. Definitely a team that can make it very far, especially since the first rounds of the qualifiers are best of ones, in which case a team like this really shines, because they go for those wonky drafts. Well played by them, and Empire, they have the pressure on to be performing well tomorrow against Power Rangers in their last match of the season. Tomorrow, then, we are indeed back at 1600 CEST time. It is Empire versus Power Rangers, as well as Next KZ versus Relax, by the looks of things. That was a match that last week was scheduled and was said to be a def win, but the teams apparently rediscussed it and decided to still play that game. So Empire versus Power Rangers and Next KZ versus Relax. Those will be our games tomorrow. Make sure you tune in then again. Thank you for watching, and of course, follow us if you want to, if you can, you should. Follow us on Twitch on Achiever Gaming is where you're watching right now. And of course, for my co-caster, Set My Jibs on twitch.tv/setmygibs with double B's. And of course on Twitter as well. Achiever Gaming on Twitter for myself, and my co-caster, Just Wilkinson1 is his Twitter account. Make sure you follow him there. Any last words before we head out?
No, just thank you for having me on, and it was a pretty interesting game there from Aware. Like you said, a team to look out for in the TI3 qualifiers. Probably the dark horse, but I'm interested to see what they continue to do.
Yeah, they are definitely a dark horse. Dark horses, though, they can be the dark horse. They can be surprising. That's the whole point of being a dark horse.
I thought you were gonna say they could be sneaky or something. Like, can you imagine a horse trying to like sneak around? That'd be pretty entertaining. I feel like horse is a bit too obvious for that, but
slightly. Who knows? Maybe we're gonna see it at some point. Anyways, see you back tomorrow. And of course, if you want to stick around for watching commercials, then please do so. But otherwise, there is plenty of Dota to watch right now. So go enjoy yourself watching Dota, and have a great night or afternoon or morning, wherever you're from. Bye bye.